associate editor at the AMA. I write a lot for our magazine, and I've been working there since September. To give you a little background on myself, I think it's pretty safe to say that motorcycling is a huge part of my life. It's been part of my life since the day I was born. My dad's been a motorcycle dealer since he graduated high school, and racing since he was much younger than that. So I grew up going to the races every Sunday, being in the dealerships. So I decided to go into journalism, and when I graduated college, I thought there would be nothing better than to tie my passion for journalism with motorcycling. And I recently, landed at the AMA. This weekend I had the opportunity to race my first race ever. I've been riding dirt bikes since I was a kid, riding street bikes since I was 16, but I'd never raced. I'd always been the one writing the reports, doing the interviews, watching my dad race, friends race, but yesterday I raced the post-vintage hare scramble on a 1982 Husqvarna WR250. It was kind of a challenge for me at first. My dad took me out, we were practicing, getting the bike prepped. He has a ton of vintage bikes that were just kind of up in the loft, so when this idea was thrown at me that, did you want to race at Vintage Days, I was kind of like, well, we'll take the bike out and we'll give it a try, and we'll see how it goes. I don't want to commit too early. So we'd been going out to my dad's friend's house and practicing in the grass track in the field. My dad is my awesome mechanic because I don't know a whole lot of mechanics when it comes to bikes. So I'm really thankful that I had him to help me with that and be my coach and motivator and giving me pointers on how to get the bike started. So we came up here this weekend, and the post-vintage hare scramble was at noon yesterday. And if those of you who live in Ohio know how much rain we've gotten over the last month, it's insane. So I was pretty nervous because I saw how some of the trails around here looked, and I knew the woods were going to be really, really, really muddy. So yesterday at noon, I was sitting on the starting line. I'd never been in a starting situation where everybody's lined up and throw the flag, take off, so I was kind of nervous for that. We did one lap on the motocross track before we headed back to the woods. It was going all right. I had a little tip over on the motocross track. Pretty much just got a little squirrely, forgot to pull in the clutch, stalled it. Had to get up, start the bike again, keep going in the woods. So we go into the woods, and they cut a lot of new trail this year because Mid-Ohio had done some clear cutting. So it was a lot of really tight single track and a lot of roots, a lot of mud. So I was just trying to navigate through it the best I could. Several hills, creeks, hills on the other side. I kind of joked yesterday after the race, I didn't remember much trail. All I remembered was going down a hill, crossing the creek, going up a hill, going down a hill, crossing a creek, and going up a hill. I'm not actually sure how many creeks or crossings there were. I'd say like 3 or 4 maybe that I can remember. But my dad actually followed me around on the track yesterday just to make sure I'd get around okay. A little bit of my protective dad, but I appreciate that because I was a little nervous too. So it was really good to have him out there with me when I'd crash. He'd kind of pull over, he'd wait for me to get up, get my bike started, or if I was just needing a minute to take a break, he'd come over and help me get the bike started. So sometimes it'd be 1 kick and it was up and running again. Sometimes it was 10 kicks, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna take a breather right now because I'm out of breath. But it was a lot of fun. One of the really good stories from it was there was 2 girls out there, myself and one of my new friends, Liz. She's a pretty accomplished racer and has been racing for years, unlike me. And so I was waiting at the top of the hill. My dad had gone down through the creek, crossed the other side, was waiting for me to come through. At that point, Liz comes through and passes me, goes down the creek, pops up through, takes off going. I'm looking down, I'm like, I don't see my dad anymore. Where did my dad go? Like, well, maybe he just went on down the trail a little bit to get out of the way so he wasn't in the way of the other riders. I'm waiting, he's not there, so I'm just taking my time because I'm out of breath at this point. And it's an accomplishment just to be out on the track, and I'm hoping to get to the end because it was a lot of work. So I go down in the creek and I stall it on the way down. And I'm waiting in the creek for quite a while. I still don't see my dad. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep riding through, and there was people to kind of help us out of the creek because it was a mud mess. Lots of ruts up through the creek, and you just kind of had to gas it and go. But eventually I got through the creek, and my dad caught up to me and he was like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "Right here since last lap." And what had happened is the other girl and I are pretty much the same body build. We're on the same exact 1982 Husky 250 bikes, identical, tanks, paint jobs, everything. Kind of similar gear, but not identical. And when she had passed me going through the creek, he thought that was me and took off following her for the rest of the race. Until he got to a hill, which she was stuck on, and he went up to help his daughter and realized that that wasn't his daughter. Luckily, they know each other, our families know each other, and it was a good time. This is a good story to tell for all of our families, but that's what I really love about motorcycling. It was a really, really tough first race on a vintage bike, no less. Had it been, dry, or on a modern bike, it might have, been a little easier, but that's what motorcycling is to me, is sitting around and telling the stories of the goofy situations that happen with your family and friends, and that's what I enjoy hearing when you go to the races. So for me, the racing, it can be challenging and it can be fun, but really it's more about the relationships and the people that you meet along the way. Every day I hear of a different motorcycling story, and obviously you guys can probably tell I have a few bruises on me. Some of them were from practicing the weekend prior. Some of them were from yesterday, and I bruise really easily, so it really wasn't that bad out. But every day here somebody's like, "Oh man, what happened? What was that?" And it really does give me a reason to talk about motorcycles with people, as silly as that sounds, but it's like, "Oh yeah, dirt biking," and then you get the surprise look of like, "You ride dirt bikes? Like, you're a girl, and when did you start doing that?" So it's a really cool thing to be involved in this, and I hope that more people will jump into riding or racing if you haven't yet. And there's all different kinds of levels of racing. There's really tough stuff, there's really easy stuff, there's so many different disciplines, and there's something for everyone. And I'm really looking forward to riding some more and just building up my experience and hopefully racing again.
Congratulations, very well done.
Thank you.
Well raced and well spoken as well.